Hey, my name is Jordan Kelleher. I am a business broker. I want to make a video here to go over some of the top reasons why I saw businesses not sell when they were listed on a listing platform, or why owners would struggle to bring in good buyers to acquire their business. And then lastly, I kind of want to touch on what could be a potential valuation on your business, the purchase price or the enterprise value of your business. How could we find that maybe back of the napkin process to just get a rough idea of what your business could sell for? Excuse me. And so these things that I'm going to go over here to best prep your business for the highest potential exit price is just coming from what I've seen for why businesses never sold and why buyers would say what was a red flag for them when looking at all different types of businesses across all different industries. This pretty much is going to stay the same with any business in any industry. So this isn't from some book or some Instagram post. This is from what I saw on why businesses wouldn't sell when they would be on the market, regardless of the economy or whatever market we were in, right? And so the very first thing, pretty obvious, are the financials. And so what buyers are going to look for, and mainly this is based off of what the SBA is going to look for when a buyer goes to apply for an SBA loan to buy your business. And so the SBA is going to ask for the last 3 years of your profit and loss statement and then year-to-date financials. So if you're in the middle of the year, just from the start of the year up until the current year, right? So always have your last 3 years of your business financials ready to pull. But what they're looking for is a positive trend in those financials. Now, it is going to be a big red flag if your revenue is constantly all over the place and pretty inconsistent, right? Whether they're good numbers or not, the trend is what they're looking for, a good positive trend, because they're trying to project if we give money to a buyer, we want to know that, okay, this business has shown a pretty steady trend in their financials. If it's up and down, it's very concerning for them, right? So what you want to do as a business owner is look at your profit and loss statements for the last 3 years and see, are we on a positive trend in the right direction, obviously. Now, if it's a little bit stagnant, that's usually fine, as long as you're not going, up 5%, down 15%, up 7%, down. Like, if it's all over the place, that's where the red flag is going to come in. Now, from a buyer's perspective, they're obviously going to want to see growth, right? And so it's like selling stocks. You want to sell when you're at the top or when you're high, right? That's when you're going to get your best possible price. And so it's the same thing here. You want to make sure you take the time and not rush a sale and get the last 3 years of growth, and that's what's going to get you the highest possible price. And so having your financials, a positive trend in your financials, is going to be probably the most important thing. And so if you don't have that, and let's say, year 1 was growth, year 2 you dipped 2%, and then year 3 was growth again, I think you would be fine there. It's not a significant decrease, but my advice would be to take the year, 2 years, and get it positive. You're just going to have a better chance at exiting at a higher price. Now, I think you could still sell with just a 2% decline. It's not anything terrible, but if you want the highest possible price, take the 2 years and get all 3 years into positive trend, right? That should be your biggest goal. And what I mean by positive trend in financials, revenue and bottom line, right? Are your sales growing, and is your net income growing, right? So financials is going to be the biggest thing. If you don't have a positive trend over the last 3 years, take the time to get a positive trend over your last 3 years. If you don't want to take the time and you just want to sell for whatever reason it is, just make sure it's not completely inconsistent and all over the place, or it's going to be very difficult to sell your business, and it's just going to be a headache to go through that process and not have a buyer. The second thing is going to be owner dependency. There we go. Owner dependency was probably the second biggest thing that I saw why businesses wouldn't sell. And I know and understand that a lot of business owners work in their business, and that's good, and that's that's usually the norm for what you see for small businesses. But if you want to sell your business, you have to put yourself in buyer's shoes and realize that a lot of these buyers are coming from an investment standpoint. There are buyers out there that are coming from the standpoint of wanting to buy and also being an operator, but they want to do this as an investment. They want to add cash flow to their portfolio. and I'm not saying that's all buyers, but obviously that's going to be private equity. So if you get any offers from private equity, that's going to be the one thing that they're looking for. But for the most part, they're not coming into this with as much background and experience as you have in your business and in your industry, and so it's going to be difficult for them. And so what they are looking for is a strong organizational chart, meaning, do you have an operator in place? Do you have key department heads in place? Do you have managers, general managers? Do you have people that oversee the business or certain departments of the business, and you can take a little bit more of a back seat? And the way I always kind of explain it is, if you went and took a 6-month vacation, is your business going to tank or is it going to be okay? Now, of course, you're involved with your business, and I understand that, but is it going to completely crash if you step away for that long of a period? If the answer is yes, then that's an issue. And what I would always suggest is to take the time to either train from within the employees you have within, and maybe bring that strong A player in your business, maybe more of a management role, and have them kind of take the reins for a little bit, so then you can go to market and say, yeah, John's been running the show for a little bit, to test that we can actually have him operate the business, right? And so owner dependency is a really scary thing for buyers, because if they're going to buy your business, they're pulling you out of the equation, and then what happens, right? Are you the one who's pretty much bringing in the revenue, or are you the one where the relationships with the customers, clients, vendors is the strongest? Which might be the case regardless, but if they're not under contract, it's very scary for a buyer to see, hey, this one owner is pulling in the majority of the revenue because of their relationship with their buddy from high school. That's concerning, right? And so owner dependency is a big flag, and I'm not saying completely remove yourself from the business. I'm just saying if you can start to remove yourself from revenue generating operations or activities in the business, that's going to be best case scenario for you, right? Because a buyer wants to get on that call with you, a seller and a buyer-seller introduction call, and ask you these questions and say, that this would be my question, is like, well, what are your roles and responsibilities, and how many hours do you work? And if you tell me, well, I'm going out to job sites and I work 40, 50 hours a week, that's concerning to me, because I probably can't do your job. And so that means I'm going to have to go hire somebody, which is fine, but the business better make enough money for me to go hire somebody to fill your role or fill your shoes. Or if you're like, well, I've got a couple general managers in place that oversee the projects, and I'm just in the back end doing the books or doing sales or doing marketing, whatever it is, something that's a little bit more hands-off from the revenue coming into the business, right? So owner dependency is something you definitely want to keep an eye on. Number 3 is customer concentration. I think this is a very overlooked aspect, or metric for buying and selling businesses. I think people can see the financials and go, this is a really good business. There's not a lot of owner dependency, which is really awesome. And they overlook the customer concentration part. And again, I'm speaking from a buyer's perspective, that if 55% of your revenue is coming from one customer, well, who is that customer? Going back to owner dependency, is this customer friends with the owner? Where if the owner leaves, that customer might go, well, since Mr. Owner's gone, I'm just going to go work with Sally down the road because I know her a little bit better than I know this new owner. That's 52% of revenue gone right away. That's a huge red flag. Buyers are going to be running out the door once they see something like that. And so what do you want your customer concentration at? I mean, ideally it would be 15 to 20%. If you're creeping up in the 30s, I think it's still okay. I'm just going to have a few questions on who those customers are they under contract, how long have they worked with you, right? I want to get more security around that 32% customer of yours, right? So if you can work on bringing your customer concentration down to 15 to 20%, you're going to be sitting in a really good spot, right? And how do you do that? You know your business best. You bring on more customers. You just have to start to see how you can spread that out, because one customer making up all your revenue is going to be really concerning. I had a client one time, never should have taken the listing. This was right when I started. I was young and I was eager and thinking I could do anything, right? And there was a business that we had a valuation on it for about $9 million. I'm like, yep, take it, let's go. And come to find out that their customer concentration was, I'll just say, above 80%. And it was a really good business and a really good industry. These top two things checked the list, but then you got down to here above 80% and every single buyer ran away, right? Everything looked good in the business other than that one thing, because if you're buying that business, you have a ton of debt tied to your name for buying this business. First of all, the SBA would probably never approve a loan with an 80% customer concentration. But if that one customer is gone, 80% revenue is also gone. So it is a major red flag. I think people overlook this one a lot. And so you really want to take the time, go through your books and figure out the percentage of revenue coming from every single customer of yours. And if any of them make over 20%, do your best to try and get that down before you start listing your business and going to market. So financials, owner dependency, customer concentration are really the biggest, the three biggest things that I see. Now, how do you value a business? And, real quick to kind of sum this up, there's going to be other factors, there's going to be other things, right? But these are going to be the main things. If you can keep and have all of those in place, I think you're going to have a really good shot at getting a high valuation for your business. So speaking of valuation, how do you know what your business is worth? Right? So businesses are bought and sold for a multiple of what they earn. EBITDA is probably the best metric to measure the earnings of your business. And so how do you find that? This is very back of the napkin, and this is taking into account that I don't know what type of assets you have. I don't know any of the goodwill or the intangibles or how long your business has been around or what industry your business is in. And so I'm going to give a very, very high level bird's eye view of a back of the napkin approach to getting a price tag on your business. I simply look at the last 3 years of your financials, and I go all the way down to the net profit, your earnings, and then you're going to add back anything that you, the business owner, spent that wasn't a business expense. Does that make sense? So anything like discretionary spending, right? So if you pay your car through the business, if you pay for meals through the business, even if they're for clients, because if I'm the buyer, you can't assume that I'm going to spend $5,000 on meals and entertainment for clients. I'm going to do how I want to do it, right? And so you get to add that back to your earnings. And so if your net income, just to keep numbers easy, is $100,000, that's your net income. So then you want to scroll through all of your line item expenses, and you want to add back any personal discretionary spending from the business. And so if you had $5,000 in meals, you can add that back, right? Your car, your phone, travel. I'm trying to think what else I've seen. I've seen country club memberships run through there, right? And then the last thing is salary. So if you're paying yourself, let's say a $200,000 salary, well, that's not a fair market value salary. And so you'd want to find out what would be like a fair market value salary, because you'd take that difference. Let's say it's 50 grand, right? And so you're paying yourself $150,000 more than what a fair market value salary would be for your position in that business. Well, you can add that other 150 down here as well, because you can't assume the new buyer is going to come in and pay themselves that much also, right? But you have to assume they're going to pay themselves the fair market value salary. So you're adding all of these things back. Maybe you don't have to worry about the salary too much, but all these other spendings, you're adding them to this $100,000, right? And that includes interest. So if you have any interest or loans to the bank for business purposes, you're adding that back. Taxes, depreciation, and amortization. So you're going to add those back. That's what the EBITDA number is. And you're going to put them all down here with meals and entertainment, with your phone, with travel, with your country club expenses. And you're going to add them all up, and let's say that comes to $300,000, right? So I would do that for every single year, the last 3 years, and then I would take an average of this number down here. And so if you look at year one, it came out to, well, I don't know how to do all the averages right there, but let's say you did year one, year two, year three, and the average came out to $300,000. That is the average adjusted EBITDA for the previous 3 years of your business. So then you will apply a multiple to that number, and you can go ahead and do some research. What multiple do businesses in your industry sell for? Let's say it's construction. What multiple do construction businesses sell for? What multiple do manufacturing businesses sell for? Landscaping businesses sell for? And you'll be able to find a graph or a range of the multiple that's used for businesses usually of your size, right? And so any business typically earning under $500,000 is going to be around a 3x. 2 to a 3 is usually pretty accurate. So you are simply taking $300,000 times 3, and you have a valuation of roughly $900,000, right? And so if you have all of these other things in line and in check, it's going to make that asking price very easy to do because you have a good, clean, solid business. If these are all kind of out of order, this might get chopped down a little bit from the buyers. So this is the way to sell your business for the highest possible price. This is how you can kind of find a back of the napkin valuation for your business. I'm totally aware that I am missing assets and real estate and intangibles and goodwill. I get it. So you have to factor all those other things in. But if you want to go off of just your financials, look at the last 3 years, take your net income, add any discretionary spending to that net income. Those are called adjustments. That's why I said adjusted EBITDA, because your EBITDA would just be your earnings with interest, taxes, depreciation, amortization added to that $100,000. I went a step further and I added any add backs or adjustments to that $100,000 EBITDA, and then I applied the multiple to it right there for a $900,000 valuation on your business. So I hope this helps. I hope this gives you an idea of how to exit for the highest possible price and make the process fast and smooth. This process can take anywhere from 6 to 12 months. And so if all of these have some issues, it's just going to drag it on because they're going to have tons of questions and concerns, and they're going to be asking you 21 questions every single day. And so if you have this all clean and organized and ready to go, and all of these check the box, you're going to have a pretty smooth, well, I shouldn't say that, but you're going to have a faster process than normal if you don't have that. So I appreciate you watching. If you have any questions on this, if I've missed anything, just let me know in the comments and I'll address it and maybe make a new video on it too. But hopefully it helps, and thank you for watching.